Hi everyone, I'm Taylor Hudak and welcome back to another Craig Murray case update. Freedom of speech and freedom of the press continues to be under threat worldwide, and this time it is with the case of journalist and blogger Craig Murray. Murray is a human rights activist, whistleblower, and former UK ambassador. He is also a friend and advocate of Julian Assange.
It was always about reaching this point, and finally we are here, and we are the ones who've been telling the world the truth for a decade.
Murray faces 2 years in prison and an unlimited fine for allegedly violating contempt of court orders in Scotland for his reporting on the corruption and political motivations surrounding the Alex Salmon case. Now, some of you may be wondering, who is Alex Salmon and what was that case all about? Well, the Salmon case generated a significant media interest since Alex Salmon served as First Minister of Scotland from 2007 to 2014 and was the first Scottish National Party politician to be elected to this position. But in January of 2019, Salmon was arrested and charged with several sexual offenses and was stood trial in March of 2020. On March 23rd, Salmon was found not guilty of all charges by a jury of 5 men and 8 women at the High Court in Edinburgh. But there is far more to this case. Before Salmon was on trial, there was already evidence that the case was politically motivated to target Salmon. And since Salmon's not guilty verdict, there has been a parliamentary inquiry into the Scottish government's handling of the case, which is still ongoing. And text message evidence suggests that senior members of the Scottish government and the SNP were working together to frame Salmon. And now, several news organizations, including well-known outlets like the Herald, are reporting on corruption within the Scottish Crown Office and the possible political motivations behind the Salmon case. This is what Craig Murray had been reporting on for years prior, and now he faces contempt of court charges in relation to his coverage of the case. The petition against Murray, which is similar to an indictment, cites 12 articles posted to his personal website and 2 Twitter posts. The Crown alleges that this content includes information which is in violation of the contempt of court orders, and Murray is charged with contempt of court on 3 separate counts. The first being publication of material likely to influence the jury. The defense is likely to argue that Murray's articles were well-founded journalism which indicated possible conspiracy among senior members of the Scottish government and the SNP, and these facts are in the public interest. Publication of such information is protected under Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which guarantees the right to freedom of expression. Additionally, the Crown cannot order censorship, and if there was a concern that published material could influence a jury, a judge would have to order the removal of an article. Additionally, the January 18th article, which is referenced in the petition, is clearly satire. Any reasonable person would be able to recognize the article as satire, which is protected speech. It is also worth noting that there is a substantial interest in the Salmon case, and it was covered extensively by the mainstream press. It is nonsensical to suggest that Murray's blog would have had a greater impact on the jury in comparison to the mainstream press coverage. The second count is Jigsaw identification of protected identities. Murray remains very clear that he did not Jigsaw identify anyone. The Crown is essentially holding Murray responsible for replies to his Twitter posts where other accounts made reference to Salmon. However, Murray is not the publisher of Twitter. The Crown also interprets Jigsaw identification to mean that an individual with specialist knowledge can identify a subject, instead of Jigsaw identification being in the context of the general public's ability to identify a subject. And in fact, mainstream media journalists publish more Jigsaw identification than Murray. However, only Murray is being prosecuted, therefore suggesting this is politically motivated. And if we take a look at the timeline of events, the court order to protect identities was introduced on March 10, 2020, and the articles which allegedly could allow for the Jigsaw identification of the complainers were published prior to this date. The third count is reporting the exclusion of a juror. However, the exclusion of the juror was not a secret, and all Murray had reported was that a juror was excluded, but did not report the reason why. The defense is likely to argue that this was not a breach of the court order. This trial begins Wednesday, January 27th, and will be heard before a panel of 3 judges and not a jury. acTVism Munich will continue to cover this very significant free press and free speech case, so please make sure you are subscribed to our channel. You can also help support Craig Murray by donating to his legal defense fund, and we will include the link in the description below. If you appreciate our work at acTVism, in order for us to continue with our independent news and analysis, please donate to our organization. I'm Taylor Hudak with acTVism Munich, and thank you all for watching.